Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Call of Duty League Toronto home series. It is our final regular season event, and we are rounding out day number one with some fantastic matches. Chicago Huntsmen facing off against the Seattle Surge. I'm Lando, joined alongside by Study and Nameless. Guys, let's get right into it, right? The last time we saw the Chicago Huntsmen was at the New York home series. They were a part of taking down the Atlanta FaZe and a hot 3-0, and then later losing to New York, who would then go on to win the event 3-0 as well. You know, one player that we have to emphasize coming into this one, Study, has to be Scump, who by no means had a great event in terms of his standards at the New York home series.
Oh, yeah. At the New York home series, he had a .85, and in the two previous home series that they ended up winning, he had over a 1.0. This is a player that I've been playing against for years. He's able to do it all. It doesn't matter what gun he has in his hand. Submachine gun, AR. Always been one of the best skilled gunfight players I've ever seen. And if he's just able to step it up back to that 1.0, they should be fine.
You know, Nameless, in Scump's own words, he said it was his worst performance since World War II. How much of a role does he play in this particular series versus the Surge?
Versus Surge, his role, he could probably just chill back, and let the rest of the squad dominate. But for Scump, I think it's just his standards of gameplay are at the very top, right? Like, he should be one of the best players in the game. He's been there before, and he's still capable of doing it. He's shown it this year. Across all game modes, he's been fantastic at times. And, at the last tournament, he did take a dip in performance. For this team to dominate, which they are capable of, he will have to become that beast once again, right? Like, you look at some other teams, you look at FaZe, and you have an Abizi who's just taking over games. You look at New York when they dominated, it was Zuma who was going big with the SMG. Like, Scump can do that, so he expects it out of himself. And if he gets there, they can dominate.
Well, let's go and get into our game fuel keys to victory for this series. Like we said, Chicago facing off against the Seattle Surge. Nameless, kind of walk us through the victories here for the Huntsmen.
Yeah, for the Huntsmen, even though Scump, wasn't playing that great by his standards, they still were great at respawn. And where they were really dominant was search and destroy. They looked amazing. That turnaround that they had was incredible. You could tell they put a ton of time into it. So continue that search and destroy strength. Don't show any weakness or any cracks in your armor there. They were 4-1 at the last event in it. Improve on the minor mistakes that you made in the New York Grand Finals.
Yeah, and I know we've kind of heard a few players from Chicago talk on their search and destroy, how they've been kind of practicing on it. Even the night before this event, excited to see what they can kind of do with it. But Nameless, now the keys to victory for the Surge.
Yeah, it's been a world of pain for the Surge, I'll be, honest. It's been very tough for them. Pretty much everybody on the team has been struggling outside of Octane in the kills department. They've been inconsistent. In particular, Proto's .77 is just not going to be enough. The big thing is for them to have even a little bit of success. Octane can continue that, slaying dominance with the AR role, and the other players just have to pick up their individual skill. Like, just get it to like a 1.0, right? Like, start playing a little bit better, and they can be fine because they have a star in Octane. Players got to step up.
Yeah, well, let's go and get into our predictions for this series. I kind of have somewhat of a feeling for how this one's going to go, but Study, enlighten us a little bit, buddy. Who are you going with in this one?
I'm definitely going to go Chicago Huntsmen 3-1 in this match right here because we saw them in that New York home series. They just let their foot off the pedal versus the Subliners in the finals, and I expect them to just get right back on track, especially going up against the Seattle Surge here, not really the toughest opponent. 3-1 for Chicago.
Nameless?
3-0 Chicago all the way. With that search and destroy improvement and how good they've been in respawn, I expect them to clean sweep.
I'll be honest with you guys. I'm going to be going with Chicago. I think it will, in fact, be a 3-1. I think it's very easy to kind of call this one a 3-0 as well. I just feel like Seattle at times, it's kind of difficult, right? Because I feel like despite them having so many, odd performances from time to time, maybe not living up to the standards that we had for them at the start of the season, they always still somehow manage to walk away with the map and kind of get to like a game 4 at the least. But nonetheless, those were our predictions brought to you by Sony's Xperia smartphone. Nameless, we're about to hop into this series, buddy, but thank you as always for joining us.
Thank you. Enjoy, guys.
Study, I'm not sure if you see it on the player cams, man. Apathy, maybe giving some prayers to the COD gods, saying, you know what, if we could walk away with this series versus Chicago, would be great. Love to see the hype coming through from Brian Zelatelitov. I don't even know his last name. It's very complicated.
I feel like for the side of Seattle, it just all starts with that game number 1. If they're able to string at least this map number 1 versus Chicago Huntsmen, they're going to gain some momentum going throughout the rest of the series. If they start off slow here, then the Chicago Huntsmen are just going to go with what we predicted in a 3-0 or 3-1 fashion. It all depends on the slaying for the Seattle Surge.
Yeah, and I feel like the hard part is, Study, about the Seattle Surge, as Nail's kind of alluded to it in the keys to victory. Someone's got to step up, right? Someone has to step up here for the Surge. It has to be kind of a team effort, if you will. It can't just be Octane and maybe just one other player. If you look at the Surge coming into this first respawn, in Chicago, it's kind of predicted to be what? Like kind of like the #1 hardpoint team in the game. Who are you looking at for the Surge to step up alongside someone like Octane?
I'm definitely looking at Apathy. He's one of those late bloomers, especially for every Call of Duty title. He just knows how to find his footing towards the end of the game. And as you see that, he was able to open it up with a 3-piece right off the rip. Apathy is just that X factor. If he's playing really well, the team is going to be able to revolve around him. And just because he's so aggressive on the map with his submachine gun, he's able to open so many lanes for his teammates. So he's going to be that player that I want to step up for sure.
We got to point out quickly, Chicago, let alone Prestini specifically, they kind of make a nice push through pipes, and it's actually going to be Prestini now kind of in the back of the map set up for P2, and those are little things that you got to be aware of if you're on the side of the Surge. Most likely not currently aware of Prestini's positioning, and that definitely can help out Chicago in the later stages as they are ready and go. They've got spawns, and they are primed for P2.
Yeah, we saw Panda. He was the only one left on that P2 side. All of the other players on his team spawned all the way at Warehouse across the map. He definitely had the information that there was a player in behind, but he was just getting pinched from both angles, wasn't able to win all the gunfights there. And then the Chicago Huntsmen were able to flip that spawn, and now they're going to be able to chain some points together.
Yeah, and this could be a great start for Chicago if Seattle's not careful. You actually do see Proto rocking out with the M4. Pretty interesting stuff, as we know him to be a kind of up-on-your-face, fast SMG, just given the positioning, given the meta, maybe even some ammo. That could be the case. But it looks as if the smoke is out, and Seattle are doing their best attempt to try and break this one. 25 seconds still left on the clock, and it looks as if for now, Seattle getting cut down at the door. Some big 1v1s. Apathy for the time versus Envoy. The teamwork is there. Chicago, they get the remaining seconds.
We're going to see Prestini and Scump on this rotation. Going to try to pick up a couple kills and just give enough time for his teammates to come and try to help break through the front. The players from the Seattle Surge are all just going to be spawning by this crates area, so obviously they have that information. No one is going to be going for the pinch. The Seattle Surge just need to be able to hold this front side at least a wave so they can chain some points together and bring the game back.
Yeah, this could be a big point of emphasis for them now as Octane ripping heads off. That's going to be 3 in a row for him, trying to set up shop there with the trophies as the Huntsmen try to rally through Cole's side and not really seeming to have a whole lot of success. And I feel like it almost kind of has to be the smoke study at some point. If you can't get positioning through middle, it's pretty much what? Just kind of tossing those smokes down and hoping that you can get some blind rushes in.
Yeah, for sure. You saw Octane. He was just pre-frying through that, but the entire time that was going on, Prestini was able to push all the way through that jungle side and end up flipping the spawns. Now they're going to be able to get the rest of this junk time if the kills go in favor of the Huntsmen. But when you're rotating back to that P4, it's going to be hard because the spawns did flip. They just didn't want to give up so much time on this hill.
Yeah, I feel like the score can almost kind of maybe not be as accurate based on what we're seeing right now. As we discussed, as you kind of mentioned it, Chicago, off the start of this game, don't necessarily get the best kind of start, if you will. They get the spawn set up for P2. Now they've flipped ahead of what will be kind of a major point of emphasis for P5. Like I said, the score not really properly indicating maybe what the Huntsmen are doing behind the scenes, but you still like what you're seeing from the Surge off the start. It's Apathy's trying to do some damage up close here in Cargo. Looks as if one trying to be on the flank. Prestini, he gets sniffed out as well, and that is good kind of conditioning, if you will, from the Surge, running, making sure that everything is locked up and clear as they've got 25 seconds left, and they are happy to get every single one of these seconds left because it very well could be some of their final seconds of the first half.
Yeah, this is beautiful on the side of Surge. They're about to open up at least a 50-point lead. They also have control of this jungle side, which is going to be easy to rotate towards that back left of that P5. Now it's all about just chaining the kills and just forcing them to spawn out. But as I say that, the Huntsmen are going to be fully set up at P5. And if they're able to get a full 60 here, we're going to go into this second half. Just basically clean slate. We just need to clean up the little mistakes, and then it'll just go down to the wire here. The Seattle Surge are able to keep up also in the slaying department as well.
Talk about jungle side, a wild Pander coming through from the back end, takes down one onto Formal, and pretty much is going to play a key piece for this flank through parking lot. Fortunately, he gets cut down as Prestini continuing to be one of the many thorns in the side for the Surge, but despite that, the point of emphasis now on to Slacked as he, along with the rest of the Surge players, managed to break on through.
Seattle are playing this beautifully. Like I said, they pushed up through that jungle side. Eventually ended up chaining 4 kills together. The only player left on the Huntsmen was Pristini that was playing that back anchor role. He was able to get taken down. They were able to break into this hard point. Now they're going to be able to open up basically a 70-point lead going into the second rotation of hard points. Huntsmen need to be able to bounce back, at least chaining P1 and P2 together, holding the proper spawns.
And we got to talk about it too, Study. I mean, for the Surge especially, as we're going to see Proto trying to fight for P2 spawns as he gets cut down. The Surge have lost their last 5 hard points in a row, and that really kind of has been a major issue for this team. Well, I mean, kind of coming into the season, a lot of people predicted the original Surge roster to kind of be a dominant respawn team, and I feel like we haven't seen that in the hard points. I mean, this would be a massive win if they could kind of surprise Chicago early.
Yeah, for sure. If they open up with this map #1 win, the momentum for them will be outstanding. The only thing is they're going to go into a search and destroy. And we watched Huntsmen last week. The only search and destroy they lost was in the finals versus Subliners. They definitely have improved drastically throughout the time that they've been putting in just in that search and destroy game mode, because that's a game mode that's 2 in every series. You need to be able to at least bounce back if you do lose game #1. And hopefully we're going to see the Seattle Surge. They're playing this absolutely outstanding right now, getting all this time on P1. Now it's all about how they're going to be able to break into P2.
Yeah, this is the hill if you're Huntsman to bring it back. As Apathy is going hunting, does get caught off from the side, and that's going to be a big piece the Surge are going to lose for this particular rush. As Proto making his way on the flank, Painter trying to echo some shots inside of Warehouse. And it looks as if, for right now, seeing some success, actually. Octane picks up one. Painter actually teammates his own player. That's going to be Apathy, who unfortunately does get taken down and sent back to the respawn screen. But Chicago, they're trying to hold valiantly. 30 seconds left. The smoke is out, and Envoy, can he find a few? That's going to be one onto Slack. Does get cut down. Scump on the outskirts as well, doing some great work. But kind of despite the contest, despite the early damage done from the Surge, as they're on the rotation, Chicago, yet again, locked down P2.
Yeah, Chicago did a great job right there, just picking up all the kills when they needed to. It was basically a jug fight in there. They were just going back and forth when it came to the kills. Chicago eventually were able to settle that and get the remaining junk time. Now it's just all about the rotation. Seattle, once again, are early on rotation towards that P3. They're going to be able to open it up, but that player #5, Pristini, is going to try to go for the same exact play he went for on the first rotation. Is he going to be able to pick up a couple kills in his hard point to bring them back?
So Pristini gets cut down, but that's going to make the way for Envoy. Not going to show up in the stats, but Pristini leading the way, and Envoy is happy to pick up from where he left off as Huntsmen rush on into the hill. And they've got some free time now. You're seeing Seattle pretty much all around the map, all around the hard point, doing anything they can, and it is continually being shut down at the door. As Pristini's picking up kills from long range. That's a great break for Huntsmen, and that pretty much brought them right back into this game here, Study.
Yeah, man, they were down like 50 points going into this. I thought it was going to get out of hand when Seattle was the early team to rotate there first. But you saw Pristini, he was going for the same exact flank play through that jungle side and was able to just make himself a decoy for Envoy to hit that front and pick up an insane 3-piece. They're able to get right back into this game, only down by, I guess, 15 points, as you say. But that was a beautiful bounce back out of the Huntsmen.
It was indeed, and we'll see if that can be the catalyst to bring them back into this one, as we now are entering in toward Cargo, and SMG's best friend in terms of positioning, if you will, and Apathy could definitely be one of those pieces. We saw the Surge look great on this hill in the last rotation. Can they do it again? As Apathy finds one, Pander finds the other, and App is going on a slaying frenzy, being involved in multiple fights and being involved in a ton of different engagements, as he says goodnight to Scump as well. Seattle definitely could be in a great situation, and Proto was trying to go on the flank. Shout out to our observers for trying to get that one on lock, but just as quickly as they find him, the Huntsmen do as well. Surge, again, the time is great, but Huntsmen, they're looking and they're aiming at P5 to make sure that this one is a solid hold.
I thought Proto was going to be able to get through that flank side and hit that early rotation, but then you saw Envoy. He understood that there was a player out of position from his teammate with the location that he spawned in. He was able to find Proto, take him down. Now the Huntsmen are only down 43 points. This is going to be basically a full 60 if they can hold it properly. And it's looking like the Seattle Surge are just going to decide to push to that back right once again and go for the easy break.
We'll see if they can be successful. The Huntsmen, a massive hill for them to try and hold on to as Proto, Pander, Slack, Octane, everybody filling the feed. as Arcades is just trying to pick up the pieces, wondering what just happened to my teammates. Are we really about to lose this game as the Surge are starting to make this one more of a reality? Up close and personal as we say goodnight to Proto, but nonetheless, Surge, they can't win it here, but you like what they do here, Study, as they managed to break in on a hill where Chicago was hoping to get back in the game, when in reality, it just continued to distance Surge even farther.
Yeah, they've done this twice now. Just push through that jungle side. Octane currently sitting at 32 and 16, double positive. The guy's an absolute unit. They only need 14 points left and rotating towards P1. Ooh. If you're Chicago, you also have to keep in mind that you have to keep those spawns for P2. So they have to be able to chain a couple kills to make sure they're keeping Seattle off this time. Scump is going to come through green and pick up that huge 2 pace. Only 8 seconds left for the Seattle Surge. I'm pretty sure they're going to be able to close it out here.
It's looking good for him. Prestini trying to be crafty. Near the stalls as Slacked realizes the rush takes him down. And again, it's going to be a juggling act for the Huntsmen to try to bring this one back, but don't doubt them. 8 seconds for the Surge, granted. It's looking good for them, but Huntsmen, if they can get a solid break, if they can try to get a rotation toward P2, they'll be in a wonderful spot, but that's a lot easier said than done as Slack's hanging out toward the forklift. Shuts down the early rush coming in from Envoy. And Slacked as well actually finds some free seconds here over in middle. Does get cut down, but the seconds nonetheless are going to help the Surge. They're set up for the rotation. Can anybody from the Huntsmen get here in time? A few seconds starting to tick away. Are they going to be able to make it through the front door? And they will not, as the Seattle Surge take the Game 1 hardpoint.
And that is such a momentum boost for the Seattle Surge. You're coming out on a hard point that you guys are currently 3 and 6, and it's not really one of your best maps. But you starting off 1-0 versus the Huntsmen, you have to be feeling really confident because everybody's ruling you out in this match, and they played that beautifully. The rotations on the side of Seattle Surge were a lot more flawless than the Huntsmen. And if they were able to step it up exactly the way that they did, now they're going to have some momentum going into the Search and Destroy, and now it's probably going to be a little scary for the Huntsmen.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, we talked about the Huntsmen. Maybe they could, walk away with this one pretty quickly. The Seattle Surge quickly say, you know what, not going to happen. We talk about slaying numbers, 35 and 19
He's
from
so
Octane.
Good.
We see
So
Apathy
good.
go 27 and 27. Same thing from Slacked. I think it's fair to say, Study. We talked about players to step up, guys who kind of need to go off for the team. Granted, when Octane's performing like that, it's kind of hard to go, majorly positive. But I think the contributions from the Surge were definitely felt.
Yeah, for sure. Apathy was starting off hot. I'm pretty sure it ended like 24 and 24, something around there. But it was also the improvement of Proto. You saw him mixing up that MP5, mixing up that M4, and he basically had a consistent stat line with like 20 and 20. And that's something that the Seattle Surge just didn't have before. That slaying power to able to keep up with these top teams. And then, like I said, they really have nothing to lose here. I'm pretty sure they're going to be bottom 4 regardless, but they can improve their seeding. And that's one step forward for them for sure, especially taking that hard point versus the Huntsmen.
Yeah, it's a big one to say the least as we'll go and pull up our U.S. Air Force quick scope. And like I said, we kind of talked about both these teams, Study. It's no secret, right? The Huntsmen have been playing fantastic, and you look at that record, 31 and 15 to the 13 and 26 from the Seattle Surge. Definitely a major difference to say the least. The Seattle Surge, though, in the midst of taking this hard point, I believe as well, snapped a major streak when we talk about this mode. I believe they've lost Gunrunner hardpoint 6 times in a row, and they just happen to take it versus the best hardpoint team statistically in the game. That is impressive to say the least, and that's got to fire them up coming into game 2.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I just got word that I was completely wrong on the stat wise. They were currently 1 and 6 on Gunrunner, 5 loss free. And they were able to win that. Now their record is going to be 2 and 6, especially versus probably the best hardpoint team in the game in the Huntsmen. I'm telling you, the momentum for the Seattle Surge have to be through the roof. Hopefully they're able to chain that into this Gunrunner S&D.
Yeah, those are our maps and modes, obviously presented by the U.S. Air Force. Well, conversations now on Search and Destroy. And I'll be honest with you, Study, my big thing was like, all right, we're probably going to have to focus on the S&D. It's going to be kind of about that for Seattle. But Huntsmen, they drop it. It happens from time to time. But nonetheless, it kind of has to raise some eyebrows to rather say the least here for Seattle. And now for the Huntsmen, right? We talk about it. They're currently ranked the, third best team in Search and Destroy. Seattle, they are ranked 12th as S&D has kind of been a problem throughout a majority of this season for the team. They win it 29% of the time. I'll be honest, I think versus a currently hot Chicago team in Search and Destroy, I would definitely doubt them. But hey, based off the game 1 hardpoint, I definitely would have doubted them there too. I don't know, man. This could be a new Seattle team. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but you never know, right? You get some players starting to go off. We know how a few of these guys can be on the Seattle lineup. Maybe we could have maybe a solid beginning for the Surge. Who knows? Maybe they could go up 2-0.
Yeah, definitely. I think the apathy praying in the beginning of that series, the COD gods, was able to give them that extra power to win that map number 1. Now, the only thing is you're going into a gunrunner Search and Destroy, whereas Chicago are 6-3 and Seattle are currently 3-6. And like you said, they are the worst team in Search and Destroy in the CDL. And hopefully, like I said, the momentum is able to drive them through this map and to like play it a little closer. Because beforehand, before we even seen Chicago at the New York home series, their S&D was like up in the air, 50-50. And then we see them in the home series and they were able to go flawless until that finals. So if they're able to keep up that rep that they were able to gain, probably bringing some new strats because people watch VODs, then this should be a great Search and Destroy map.
It definitely should. It, like I said, has made this one a lot more interesting than I'm sure a lot of people would have thought. Solid stuff early from the Surge, but we'll see how their prowess is looking now when it comes down to some Search and Destroy. Huntsmen, really a big emphasis kind of throughout the majority of the season study is at times how on and off they can be. When they're great in Search and Destroy, you often see them win events. And we'll see if this particular map could be a good one for them. Proto, a great read, but unfortunately does get cut down. He saw the bomb was planted, instantly goes for the challenge, but he can't walk away with the kill. Actually, the smoke is out. Apathy's on the defuse. Can he get this one in time? RCC's trying to fire away. Scump manages to shut down Apathy through the smoke. So at the very least, if you are the Huntsmen, some more time to work with. A solid attempt coming through from the Surge as Pander opens up the door of opportunity, and Scump will seize it on the other end. Octane finding some good kills, but nonetheless, it's Huntsman with the trades, Huntsman with the plant, and Huntsman with the round.
I love the pace that the Huntsmen just played that with. They immediately went for that bomb plant. When you're starting off on an S&E map, it's all about who's going to set the tone right off the rip. And as you see that, they were able to just rush plant that bomb. And now the Seattle Surge are just going to be on their toes, being nervous that they would be able to do that again. So they're probably going to be changing up a couple positions here going into that next defensive round.
And it's no secret, right? I mean, the B-bomb side here on Gunrunner, obviously the more preferred when it comes down to the offensive teams. And it is interesting because I feel like that was kind of not a desperation move from the Surge, but it just kind of goes to show how heavily the defense has to move if they want to try to walk away with the defense. As Pristini finds the first blood, that's going to be 3 in a row for him. That SMG duo of him and Scump together can be very, very lethal from time to time, as it's showcasing that right now. And if you're Proto, you've lost Apathy, you've lost Slacked, and you're just looking for some communication, very worried about who could be on the flank, but it has to be the focus at the front. Trying to get that bomb down here shortly. As Huntsmen, they've got a full 5. They're feeling good, and it's just a matter of attacking. Utility is out in Proto. He's not super confident in the plant right now, and for good reason, Stunny, right? The Huntsmen walk away with the first few. No communication really for the time for Surge, and we'll see if they can get this plant down here shortly as Octane toward the back lines is in the midst of a reload, and Proto walks away with the nice double. Talk about evening up the man advantage, as now he's got the plant. They've cut down the few players that were coming in from Pipe. However, Envoy from the skies, able to take down one. Octane toward that back for his side is the primary focus for Formal right now. Pander weak. Here comes the challenge from Formal. Pistol whips him, cuts him down, and now it is all on to Sam LaRue. The focus is there. The information is gained, but if you're Octane, he's aware of the positioning, shuts down the first, but Formal is there for the trade, and that will be the defuse. Despite what was a great comeback from the Surge, the Huntsmen, they win the 1 versus 1, and Formal, he guns Octane there for the final kill.
I love the way that the Huntsmen opened up that round with Pristini getting that first plug and then pushing through that train side. They had a 5v3 advantage, but then you saw the players give up that map positioning, give up that flank play, because there was a player on the Seattle Search who were watching it. They ended up giving up that map control, and then Proto was able to get a 2-piece and connector. Fortunately, they were able to clutch out that round, but I would have liked them to hold their map positioning and basically trap them in like a circle, basically, and just keep them in bay, like where you know they're exactly going to be, but they ended up winning the round. Great play out of Huntsman.
They do indeed, and we talk about early defenses. You'll take it if you're the Huntsman, and now someone of a bait possibly over at A. Proto's going to read it out, and really if you're Chicago, that's all you want to do in that moment, Study, right? Just try to get the The line side aware as Slack and Co decide to read the push that was being made, tosses out the smoke, and that's going to preemptively work out to his advantage. As Chicago, what seemed like a good positioning off the start, they get cut down, and it's not going to be easy for them to walk away with this. Envoy toward the side. Tries to get the line side on the Slack. No go. Formal with the pick, but Seattle, they're going to reference back. No harm, no foul, as Apathy does gain the information. And if you're Huntsman, it's definitely an uncomfortable spot, as Envoy's actually looking to wrap the bomb. We'll see if Seattle's aware of this. Actually running on the tracks. Proto gonna hear him, takes him down. As he continues to be a menace over here, Formal tries to win the 1 versus 2. He gets cut down, and Surge, they finally put a round on the board.
I love the adjustment out of the Surge there. Like I said, that first round for the Seattle Surge, they realized that the Huntsmen were setting that tone, just being aggressive towards that bomb. They did not want that to happen again. They ended up smoking at that jungle area. Slack was all the way pushed up on that turbine, was able to pick up 2 kills. He said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, buddy. It wasn't going to happen again. Good bounce back round out of Seattle Surge.
We'll see what they have up their sleeves now here for offense. Again, we talked about Chicago, how great they've kind of looked over at the B bomb site, as we'll get to possibly revisit it again. And Apathy, he's ready for that early push. We've seen Chicago already with Prestini and Scump be so great, especially in that pipe room. Nonetheless, Apathy does manage to take down Envoy. The plant is inbound as well, and there goes Scump. A solid early start here from Surge, Study.
I love their adjustments again. They realized as the Huntsmen hit 2 on the flank last time, and they were just going to be so aggressive on this B bomb site. They immediately went for that rush plant, made the play counter them. Apathy was able to pick it up in that connector area, pick up a 2-piece. Beautiful way to end that round. Seattle Surge able to tie it up to 2-2.
They do indeed. Good stuff coming in from Seattle. And like I said, you've been calling out perfectly. Just the adjustments are impressive. And that's kind of what we noticed as well in the hard point. It was really kind of them adjusting to what kind of the Huntsmen were throwing at them. Their ability to kind of transition on the fly was incredibly impressive. And like I said, despite us only being 4 rounds deep in the S&D, you have to like the adjustments being made from Surge from time to time. But we'll see if that can equal out to some future success. It's like we said, the Search and Destroy, still early. Huntsman nonetheless now back with the bomb in their court, if you will. Scump getting tagged early through green. Decides to refocus, maybe tossing out the utility to help out Envoy. You hear those smokes being thrown as Arstides does find the pick, and that's a major one for him. Regardless of that, though, Apathy is there for the trade. So, objective man for Huntsman is down. The bomb by no means in a great position. In the midst of all this taking place, it looks as if Proto was in a great position to maybe take down Prestini. But I feel like if you are the Surge, you have to know where that bomb is. You know a player like Envoy normally rocks it, and Apathy gets the read, tried to take down Prestini from range. We talk about how great he can be from really just the close-up perspective, but from long range as well. Apathy trying to spoil things. Nonetheless, Chicago bomb down, trophies to work with. The Scump finds one. Octane toward that top cargo side is going to have to step out and try to slay, try to do something, as he's now the last man alive. Huntsman find him, Huntsman cut him down, and they managed to walk away with another.
That was great positioning out of Scump. You saw he was playing that flank, making sure no player was going to be able to get through. Apathy was that original player who was pushing that flank, decided to back up to his team, just regroup, play the numbers advantage. But Scump, in the position that he was able to pick up one, sitting at that half wall, just playing his life, giving enough time for Arstides to stay alive at that turbine area, pick up another one, force it into a 2v1. Huntsmen were able to close out that round.
Apathy's crafty though, man. You have to hand it to Apathy from time to time. I like the move. I like to play. Obviously, he's been a guy that you've played with in kind of your history. And what a solid player he can be in answering perfectly on call. Tossing out the nade. Can he walk away with it? He does. Unfortunately, does get dropped in the meantime. But nonetheless, the impact has been felt. We instantly wipe away a majority of the players in this round, as now we're left down to a 2 versus 2 here, Stud.
Apathy, that was an insane play. He was able to rush right through connector, eventually turn around, try to go for the pre-nade there on the Scump, but I guess the blast radius from that grenade was able to put that little tick in him to eventually kill him and give that kill towards Scump. Now in a 2v2 situation with 45 seconds remaining on the clock, Bomb is going to be down by this B area. You see the positioning out of Chicago Huntsmen to have this on a sight.
And Pristini finds the pick onto Pander, and if you're slacked, just about trying to tiptoe your way around the bomb site. Just try to be careful, and maybe a second attempt. There we go. Second time's the charm. Maybe from time to time. We'll see if it can be a successful one here for Slacked, as he might have the rotation in mind. Can he catch the angle? Can he catch the timing? And no, Pristini walking away with the final two there.
Yeah, Chicago was not going to let that happen. They did the buddy system strat. You and your teammate just run around in a 2v1. And it's basically, I guess, they decided to split towards the end. They didn't want to give up either one of those bomb plants. But it was just a great round out of Chicago Huntsmen, able to put themselves up in a 4-2 advantage.
And this is the swing round, right? We talk about it. The swing position 4-2 currently for Chicago. They win this in a great position. 5-2 looks so much more different than 4-3. We'll see what the Huntsmen are currently eyeing up. An untypical scoreline from Young Envoy. 1-6, but of course does have the bomb, and the objective, unfortunately, is going to have to land on those train tracks for the time, as Proto continues to be a nuisance over here at that A bomb site. M4s from range as Octane takes the head off Pristini. The M4s are firing, but the MP5s are still here. Scump trying to keep this round afloat as he drops as well. 2 versus 4 situation for Chicago, make it a 1 versus 4 situation for the Huntsmen. Formal, a crafty player, does take down the first, but it's going to take a lot for him to walk away with this round. Tries to refocus on the apathy, but that's a no-go. Kind of the untypical strat coming through from Chicago there, Stud.
Yeah, it was because the aggression that Seattle Surge put on that B bomb site once again. That was the swing round. If they go down 5-2, the map's basically going to be really hard to come back in. With them putting on that aggression towards that turbine area and that jungle area, they was able to give up all that information, and no one was pushing towards that site. Proto put himself in a great position to open it up with that first blood. Octane hit some incredible shots to put them in an advantage. Great bounce back round out of Surge.
Like we discussed, your defenses, you'll take them as often as you can get. As the Surge, like we said, win the swing round and now put themselves in a great position to maybe tie this one up 4-4. As Arcides does get to cut down early. His M4 brethren Informal, though, trying to pick up from where he left off. As the last thing that Matthew Piper will see is the hair flowing away from Slack. This will just pretty much manage to make the rounds behind the crate. It's really about the attack. Here comes the smoke up close. Slacked and Proto, they both fall. Current retake opportunity is looking good for Chicago, but apathy continuing to be a problem. Shuts down Scump, and in the meantime, Envoy as well. Silences Octane. 18 seconds left, and it's all on to apathy. He's got the nade in hand, but can't do much with it. He drops Chicago. They get the defuse.
That was a great retake out of the Huntsmen. They ended up getting first blooded there, but it did not panic. They knew Apathy was going to be that nuisance player that usually hits the flank, tries to be that playmaker. Apathy was able to get at least 1 or 2 there, but they were just able to trade efficiently and just win the round. Now they're going to be putting themselves at game point. But one thing that we see out of the Surge is that constant smoke out of Apathy that's keeping Pristini on that back A bomb site. He's just calling out that cross. He's not going to be able to just give up that position and not knowing what's going on. But now the Huntsmen are only 1 round away from closing out map number 2.
Huntsmen continue to bait over at A. Because the missed utility coming through from Formal. And the early attack actually from Seattle is going to work out. They read the play perfectly. And in the midst of this, it looks as if Chicago wants to go toward the fight. Despite Pander staying over here, Pristini instantly asking, where did my teammates just go? I felt like they just walked over in Cole, and now I'm dead. I don't know what's happening. Seattle. Great round there.
The aggression from Surge, they know that if they're giving the map to the Huntsmen, it's going to be really hard to come back. Slack with a big opening 2-piece. pushing through that A bomb site. Even if they pushed towards that B, they would have had that flank advantage with the numbers. So they played that beautifully. Now it's all about just keeping up this pace, trying to catch Chicago Huntsmen off guard. I would like to see a rush plan to either bomb site, immediately make the play come to you to force it to a 5-5.
I like the call, Stud. We'll see what Seattle has in mind. Apathy looking for eyes. Visuals on his end. The eyes of the opposition. We'll see as the plant
down.
Already inbound, typing in the digits. We talked about aggression. We get to see it. Proto already puts the objective in its place, and now it's all on to the retake of Huntsmen. Can they lock it up here? Or will we see a round 11? A very common one for the Surge. Is it going to happen this time? Envoy making his way on the flank, instantly greets Octane, says, I'm not too keen about that fight. Regardless, Proto trades out his life. Octane on the rush gets dropped from Formal. Arshty's at the same time. Like we said, doing some great work. They have the information on Pander as he drops as well. The defuse is in, but can Apathy do anything? The last man alive goes for the challenge. Did he do enough?
Yes, he did. That was beautiful out of the Surge. Slack was able to come up through that water street and just pick up the first kill that was hopping on that bomb. There was 2 players, which were Slack and Apathy, who completely left their teammates out to dry on the backside of that bomb site. They both went from the flank from the opposite opponent's spawn. Apathy was able to get this kill at the very end. Beautiful adjustments out of the Surge. I told you, the aggression, when you're down so many rounds, the aggression is what's going to be able to bring you back. Now we're forced to a 5-5, and this is going to be really scary for the Huntsmen.
There we go. Had to refresh, I think, for a moment. I was a little bit behind on the Apathy play, regardless. Like we said, a solid clutch, like you said, round 11 now, and the aggression has led to Seattle bringing this one back. We see Apathy and Slack both with 10, Octane with 9. Formal finding the first blood, and that is huge.
Slack is in a great position once again.
Is Envoy gonna know? Is Envoy gonna read it? He does! Shuts down Slack. Apathy right around the corner. Hanging out in bathrooms, tosses out the stun, and he wants to be aggressive, and the smoke is out. Is it gonna be his best friend? Can he work with it? Envoy is here, shuts him down through the smoke that is too straight for the Huntsmen. It's starting to get scary for the Surge. Long-range fight. Is Octane going to be able to read it in time? Envoy on the flank, and the Huntsmen walk away with the round 11 victory. It got scary there, Studdy, but Chicago, they managed to make it work.
Yeah, man, to go all the way, when you were up 5-3, obviously you're only 1 round away, but for the opposite team in the Surge, all you have to do is just make a couple adjustments, just keep up that pace. You saw the aggression. They were able to bring it back all the way to a 5-5. Now, it was just that positioning out of Slack. If Slack was able to open it up with 1 kill, or probably 2, he was just such in a great position on that turbine area. But unfortunately, Envoy was able to spot him, force it into a 5v3. Once they gave up that positioning, it was really hard for the Seattle Surge to come back. And now we get to see a series tied 1-1.
We do indeed. Like I said, this one is now much more interesting, as we already saw Seattle walk away with the hard point, but the Huntsmen managed to respond back here in the S&D as we'll go and take a look at our U.S. Army tactical play. It's Scump and Arshty's, and round number 5, the dynamic duo, the guys who have kind of led the way in Search and Destroy, managed to do it again here, Studdy.
Yeah, man, you see Scump once again just giving up that flank, going through connector, catching Apathy right there with his pants down. Now forcing it into 2v2. He's just giving enough time for Arshty's. Now he doesn't even have to peek. Scump has the eyes on that bomb site. Arshty's was able to win his one-on-one versus Slacked, just stalling enough time for Scump to come out and get that final kill. Beautiful adjustments out of the Huntsmen in that round.
Yeah, and we talk about it too. Like, I mean, in terms of the Huntsmen, an impressive win nonetheless here for, you know, obviously they get it done here in round 11, but nonetheless, the Surge still looked good, right? We talked about their performance in Search and Destroy. Hasn't been great, but they sent a great Search and Destroy team to a round 11. They win the hard point. The future could be bright for Seattle. We'll find out on their best mode as Domination is up next.
This is dangerous. He's going to get caught, but they line up for Scump. Scump, the king! Envoy is going off. Pristini gets the kill. They're gonna keep on charging straight into Arshty's. Formal hits the shot. Chicago caught it, dominate.
is brought to you by Metro by T-Mobile. Rule your day with the #1 brand in prepaid. Scuff Gaming, the official controller of the Call of Duty League. The United States Air Force. Learn more at airforce.com.
In my slurpee and I slurp. Wet, cold, ice.
Hey Scump, welcome to Kensington Market. Let me show you the cats.
Hey Scump, thanks for coming to Kensington Market, one of Toronto's most diverse neighborhoods.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Call of Duty League Toronto home series. Man, I gotta tell you what, shout out to the Toronto Ultra media team for putting
Those
together
videos
some
are
of
so
these
funny,
videos.
dude.
I'll tell you what, Sonny, I was watching a few of them, and it's just so funny to see the players. Like, just their acting abilities is great. We got to see what Brack carrying around Scump, showing around the downtown Toronto area, and now Scump has just magically appeared back in his own room, and he's ready for this domination, which should be an interesting one, right? We see Seattle walk away with the first respawn, and kind of throughout a majority of the season, Stud, it has been on Seattle. You know what? Game 1 hasn't been, or rather, Hardpoint hasn't been great. Search and Destroy has not been great at all. But domination, they continue to be relied upon. This could be their opportunity, as what they're ranked the 4th best Hardpoint team in the game based off of record.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a nitty-gritty map right here because you have the 3rd ranked team in domination and then the 4th ranked team, and I'm pretty sure it's by 1% that makes these guys different. And it's huge on the side of the Huntsmen because they were able to bounce back in that map number 2. If Seattle were able to win that and go up 2-0 in this series, then the Huntsmen will be absolutely nervous going into this map. Now, it's all going to be like just the slaying department for the submachine guns. So I'm really expecting Proto to step up and at least stay consistent as he did in that map number 1.
And on a map like hacking as well, I mean, you have to be looking at the SMGs majority of the time. Like I said, Nameless kind of brought it up. It was like a 0.73, I want to say it was, at the last of it they played in. By no means a performance that you like to replicate if you are Proto, but nonetheless, the SMGs are hot early, as that's going to be a majority of the reason why we see the Huntsmen win the early engagements here toward middle, as they've now obviously got the more preferred side, and they've also got B in their hands as well.
Yeah, you're going to see Arcides is holding his top L control, able to win a gunfight towards mid. Just trying to stay alive, just build up a couple points here before they decide. Just holding this line, not letting anyone go through towards that A flag. And now they're just going to be able to hold this 2-cap, just try to build themselves a lead. As I say that, 4 go down in a Huntsman. It should go in favor of the Seattle Surge right now at this B flag.
Well, as Seattle look to gain control over at B, let's go to an Astro Gaming listen-in to the Chicago Huntsmen.
Everyone hold. Everyone hold. I'm gonna neutral and run to B.
Fine.
All right,
I'm capping. They're not moving. They're just sitting still. They're sitting still.
Yeah, they're waiting. Yeah, top AC laying down.
Mid AC hop dead.
Top AC.
Green spawn.
Looking door. Green spawns, green spawns.
Our door dead. I got one green. I got one green.
I think
Our door weak. Jerry,
AC dead.
last guy at our.
I'm holding.
Dead, all dead.
All dead. Right out. Green spawns, green spawns.
I'm blocking. I'm green right now. I'm blocking.
Bottom mill, one shot.
Bottom mill,
Graffiti right now. Here you go. Bottom mill. Josiah,
Top green. I'm
That's one green. I'm gonna wait. Hold.
inside, guys.
I don't have green.
That's all you, bro. That's all you. AC hop got me. One more in B. He's flanking right here.
I'm flanking
Yeah, we're spawning P3. They're spawning green.
There's gonna be guy green.
I got him on B.
I got the guy.
Green.
Fire card.
Where's Sam?
Sam's
gonna be green.
Yeah, jump out of top green right now. He's forward.
I'll kill him. One shot.
Trying to get in B.
Dead. Fork.
Yo, in B on me.
Fork slack. O-wing. He didn't OE. He did not OE yet.
Pocket.
Yo, another one in B. Our door weak.
Look green.
Top green.
Are they spawning P3?
Some dramatic scenes there, Study, from the Chicago Huntsmen. We see them kind of start off on A, they're looking solid. We see them spawn over at C for a short time. What'd you make of the comms throughout all of that chaos?
Oh, the comms were fluent. You heard Formo. He was just like, make sure you hold. They didn't want to make sure that they didn't flip those spawns, and that's exactly what they did. They gave enough time for Envoy to push towards that C flag. He said he was going to neutral and run towards B, but then you heard the communication from RCDs. He was like, no one's moving. Don't worry. You can literally cap that. No one's moving out of the site, and then they were eventually able to put themselves in a 3 cap. And now they weren't able to flip those spawns, so the lead is just growing and growing on the side of Huntsmen. It's going to get really scary for the side of the Seattle Surge if they're able to bring this back.
Yeah, we're going to see Seattle start to do something now. Let's talk about this being kind of their preferred mode, one that they feel confident on a majority of the time in their series. Though manages to stay strong. He and Prestini together, I wouldn't say single-handedly, but majority of the time trying to hold back this push from the Surge as the break on into B successfully. And in the meantime, they're also having some pressure over at A as it's Envoy continually being Mr. Sneaky over at the C flag. It looks as if spawns might have flipped in the middle of this. I know we saw kind of Envoy have an interesting situation, but nonetheless, the Surge kind of a bad situation in terms of the score, but they're happy to walk away with now the preferred side.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're able to at least get, I think, another 11 points to finish out this side. So they'll put themselves down at least 33 to 34 points going into the second half if they're able to hold this. But the Huntsmen just did such a great job of just not letting them try to flip those spawns. There was either Arcides or Scump. Even Formal sometimes was sitting on that far right green side, just making sure nobody was getting through. They were able to open themselves up on a great lead on their better side of this map. As we see that, it's looking like a neutral is going to be coming in on C, so Seattle are going to be able to chain at least a couple more points together going into the second side, and that's great for the Seattle Surge. They want to be able to bring back some of these points. They're going to be down 24 points if they continue to hold this 3 cap, and that's perfect for them.
Yeah, they'll take it, right? I mean, like I said, at the ending stages, they get kind of blessed with preferred spawns, and they'll take it to the bank. It's now kind of what a normal scoreline, as that just kind of goes to show where the trip cap at the end, what kind of a last-minute heroics will start to give you. I mean, it was definitely in one situation looking horrible for the Surge, and you know what? You had to think about it. You started off on the non-preferred side, you're down around 20 points, roughly around there, and you're kind of cool with that, right? I mean, after the end of the game, we talk about what 15 to 20 points is usually what you feel pretty good on if you held Tire Shop a majority of the time.
Yeah, and the Huntsmen did such a great job. They held it for 4 minutes, but eventually Seattle Surge are going to have to try to break through, and they got those spawns. Now, only being down 21 points going into their better side, they're able to hold the exact way that the Huntsmen just held, basically with a 2 cap. At least for a majority of the time, they'll be fine.
See what will be inbound here for the Huntsmen is the early break as they sent 3 through middle. The early break is somewhat imminent. It looks like they are finding a few kills through that mid-cargo position. Player 3 makes his way through fire. That's going to be Envoy, or Spawn's going to flip it. It looks as if they will early. A major chain of situations coming through from the Huntsman study. Looks as if it still is inbound. Seattle trying to retake this one back. It looks as if that's going to be silence for now. Yeah, they're spawning office. Huntsman, they've done it in the first minute.
Yeah. Seattle, they at least had 3 people in towards that B flag. Weren't really paying attention towards that right side. Envoy was able to sneak through right underneath that play that was sitting top fire in this back right building. Pristini was there for the help. They were able to get the flawless flip. Now they're both holding an AC cap. Eventually, you know, the Seattle Surge are going to push towards that C flag. But great plays out of the Huntsmen to flip it and flip it early.
Yeah, that was impressive to say the least. Definitely, I had my stopwatch out. I'm not sure in terms of records how quick that marks on the CDL this season for a flip. But if you're the Huntsmen, considering the way that Seattle closed out that first half, you are happy to be in the more preferred spot again, as Arcides is cleaning some up in the inside. Envoy on the out, as they're looking solid, at least for now. And if you're Surge, I feel like it kind of has to be a break here, Study. They've got to rely on a push toward Tire Shop soon. If not, it's going to have to be some consistency over at B. And based on the way that the SMGs and even guys like Arcides with the M4 have looked over here in Warehouse, it's not going to be easy to do that.
No, yeah, for sure. Pristini's just holding that back line, not letting anyone push through that green side. The Chicago Huntsmen are probably going to be able to retake this B flag here. The lead is just growing. Seattle Surge do not have an answer on how they want to flip this spawns. They keep going individually. If they do have 2 people going, they're both getting taken down by 2 players on the Huntsmen. They're putting a lot of focus on that spawn flip and making sure it's not going to be able to come through. But the Huntsmen are able to hold to this B in C cap. Now they're only down 26 points with 2 minutes 30 left. They're going to have to flip these spawns if they're going to try to hold this for sure.
We'll see what Seattle can try to make happen. So you've got a few players actually from Chicago on the flank, and this could spell disaster if they're not careful. So just about reading it. Octane with his back right side, he gets cut down as well. Scump and Co. doing some wonderful work on the pinch, but slacked. Josiah Barry's trying to stay alive. He's trying to keep this one afloat as he's trying to make his way over toward Tire Shop. He gets cut down as well. And whether it's Envoy, whether it's Scump, or even Arcides, they are continually being problems over at that C flag as Perla looks to try to get in the neutral here. And kind of an interesting spread right now for the Huntsmen as they're over at Office. At least if you are Seattle, you do manage to get the neutral for now, but it's not really going to be enough, as in that same time here, Study, we see Chicago, they get the full capture over at C.
Yeah, they're just playing this beautifully, man. They are able to flip it right back and get to that A spawn. It all was on the back of Formal. Formal was the only player from the Huntsmen holding this green push. You saw Slack trying to come through that bottom middle area. Formal was able to turn around and pick up 2 kills before he went down. But he stalled enough time for the Huntsmen to wrap back, eventually chain the kills back together in their favor. So now they have the preferred side. But the Seattle Surge are able to bounce back here. A minute 10 remaining on the clock. Currently down 27 points. This is going to be a really hard task for them to complete.
It is indeed. We're going to need to see some first half heroics again, as Arcides shuts down Apathy through the lowest point possible on the van, and nearly says goodnight to Octane, as this map surely is going to be done, despite some good moments here and there from Surge. The way that the first half ended, I feel like it really kind of has to come down to that early break, right? We saw the Huntsmen literally break Tire Shop in the first minute of the game, and I feel like despite that, the Surge kind of kept it close, right? I mean, they're going to lose this one, I mean, depending, 20, 30 points, but nonetheless, I feel like despite what was constantly kind of being on the back foot, maybe not even having preferred side for probably 8 out of these 10 minutes, I feel like the scoreline doesn't really accurately reflect that. Not that you're taking away and saying, oh yeah, good map from the Surge, but I feel like kind of given the circumstances, they did better than I thought.
Yeah, man, it was that triple cap at the end of that first half. For that minute, they were able to put themselves down only 21 points. Now, for the Huntsmen, they held it for 4 minutes. Seattle only held it for 45 seconds. And that's exactly where the jump was such drastic right there. Seattle just wasn't able to hold those push-throughs through that green area. Chicago was basically just running around the map, pushing for the spawns, pushing the C, getting neutrals, making the game chaotic for the Surge. Like I said, they just weren't able to hold that spawn once again, and that gives the map to the Huntsmen.
Yeah, it does indeed. A good overall consistency coming through from the Huntsmen. As we talk about advantage, we kind of talk about this series in general. I mean, we could have been, possibly, if the round 11 goes differently, Study, we could have been looking at Seattle up 2-0 coming into this domination. But like we talked about, domination has been their strong suit. Granted, they lose it here versus Chicago, but The Seattle team has been looking good, but now we come into a hard point for Game 4. This one going to be on St. Petro as we kind of reflect back, but nonetheless, another respawn coming through. This is, what, 3 straight wins from Chicago coming into this. Your thoughts on Seattle based on this map? Do you think they can get it done? Do you think they have the ability to force the Game 5?
I think they definitely have the ability to force that Game 5, but it's all just going to be on that slaying department. We saw Slack in that Game 1. He was way more consistent across the board. 14 and 19 on this map is not really what you want out of your submachine gun. But when you're going into that St. Petro hard point, the Huntsmen are currently on a 3-win spree, and it's going to be really hard to top the ARs of RCD's Informer for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. In Chicago, granted, they've been solid all year long. They've kind of been, and I wouldn't say blessed, but they've really enjoyed this kind of new AR metas. We'll pull up the top 4 teams kind of throughout the CDL so far this season, and Chicago's been one of those rosters, right? They've been one of those teams. They've been Mr. Consistent from, certain events, and I feel like kind of with this new light, if you will, of having someone like Prestini. I know people kind of talked about the new meta. Could he kind of transition from an M4 back to an SMG? Can he really play that flex? Can he rely on it? I feel like he's done well, and you have to give Chicago a lot of credit for that.
No, yeah, for sure. Prestini has stepped in, and he stepped in beautifully. Him and his brother have so much history together, being the twins, winning world championships together. So they have so much confidence between each other. And then you're bringing him into a team that's basically already had a basic stat line on what they wanted to do. And the only thing they needed to improve on was search and destroy. And I feel like Prestini, with his aggression and just his pacing on search and destroy, has definitely improved them overall as a team, and especially in the respawns. We saw him last week going a 15 kill spree, and that's something that he's able to do. And that's so good on the side of Huntsmen when we're talking about just slaying overall.
100%, right? I think he kind of adds a new element, to say the least, is, when we kind of talk about this team in particular, I think a lot of people have claimed around this kind of Toronto home series, this is their chance, right? This is their ability to really make it far. You talk about the Surge, Ultra, OpTic Gaming. It's kind of easy to say that in comparison to the other group, they definitely kind of have the more preferred. I feel like what Group B is like Tire Shop, and Group A is like the opposite side when we talk about like something like Hackney Dom. But I tell you what, man, they're definitely in a great position to make it far. But that other side of the bracket, it's lethal. I'll be honest, I have no idea what to expect when we talk about that group.
Yeah, it's the gauntlet on the other side. You have Empire, you have the Mutineers, you have FaZe, you also have Røkkr. Like, those are 3 of the top 4 teams throughout the entire CDL. And, like, for the Huntsmen, you're low-key looking at the bracket like, oh, we got blessed a little bit. So we should be able to definitely make it to the semifinals and even push it towards a Sunday. Now, the only thing for me is that S&D was just a little shaky for me. We saw them in that New York home series. They had a lot more consistent gameplay, winning 6-1, 6-2. That one went all the way down to the wire. So if they're going to want to continue that forward and make it to Sunday, they have to make sure they improve on their mistakes in search and destroy.
They do indeed. Regardless if we see a Game 5 or not, St. Petro will be our final map for this series. Again, if we do manage to see it for Game 5 as well, it will be the same map. And well, historically for the Huntsmen, they like their St. Petro. They're 4-1 on it in Hardpoint. They're 6-1 on it in Search and Destroy. So regardless of the Huntsmen being in this position study, I feel like you have to be comfortable if you are a Huntsmen fan. And it looks as if, kind of like what we've been seeing recently from a few different players, even guys like Octane, who happens to be on the other side, the Graw being brought out from Formal.
Oh, I love this weapon, especially in Warzone. It's just a melt machine. Just able to hold down sites. Formal was just going to get taken down by Slack. But when I'm talking about the hard point, when I'm going back to that map number 1, Seattle had a lot more flawless rotations. And that's one thing that I'm expecting the Huntsmen to do a lot better on this map. It's just rotating early, making sure you're winning your gunfights and holding your proper positions. The Seattle Surge were able to break into basically every single hard point that they wanted to on that first map. So if the Huntsmen are able to get some good holds, get some good rotations, this should be another map win for them.
We talked about it, Formal. Now Octane says, you know what, the Graw is pretty good actually from this type of range. We'll see if we can rock it as well. I think it's absolutely dominant in Warzone, by the way. I know new meta is kind of coming out, but nonetheless, the Graw can definitely do its damage from time to time, as we'll now begin to focus our attention over toward CAF A. As Chicago currently with preferred spawns, Panther looking to be one of the key forces to try and break on through. It looks as if Waterside needs to be the main focal point, as Slack, the entry fragger, does get dropped. Panther as well manages to actually walk through the front door. Prestini, though, happens to be the employee-only exit, as he'll shut down Apathy as well. Octane up close. Looks as if trades are through. Prestini does all the damage that he needs. As Chicago, they continue to hold, but the spawns are here, and Envoy, a quick little 3-piece for the folks at home.
That was such a beautiful play from Arcitys before this hard point popped. He was able to push way through Water Street and just get behind Octane. As soon as he was able to do that, one player spawned on him. They double challenged Octane, were able to get those spawns. Now you see them, they're just able to chain a couple points together, and this is beautiful on the side of Huntsmen. Envoy, he was able to pick up a 3-piece when the players basically spawned. They were like, oh, we spawned and we died. It's okay. And that's just a great opening hard point for the Huntsmen, especially going into this Hazard P3 building.
It's also, yeah, like I said, a great rotation coming through from the Huntsmen as well. Hold well at Cafe and really across the map. They get a nice solid spread as continually Smokes being influential. It's often what you have to rely on if you're in the non-preferred spot, and Slack definitely in that position as he had green everywhere. Huntsman players aplenty. As he gets cut down, we saw players lining up. Can they do that for Scump? Unfortunately not. As some nice players really starting to fill up the feed here if you are Seattle. And this could be a good position for them, Study. We see teams from time to time, if they can kind of lock up this spawn and keep the team who was spawning Hazman originally in the back of the map, it can be set up very well for Pool Hall.
Yeah, the way that Seattle was able to bounce back on this hard point, you saw Octane push up on that train side, put himself in position to just chain them as they were running out that backside of that spawn. All the players, they were able to pick up 4, so they're able to hold this from the front. But as you said it, this is beautiful on the side of Surge. They're going to be able to get the rotation towards P4, and they're only going to be down 20 points, 25 points basically. And that's exactly what you want from the Surge. They're able to just hold them here, basically pick up a couple seconds before any contestant is going to come in at P4.
Oh, Octane's let some anger out, it looks like, toward the water side. That's going to be 3. All right. We talk about Sam, how amazing of a player that this guy is, and in moments like that, he just kind of goes to show why he is one of the best ARs in the game. It looks like I said, Pool Hall, the rotation for Seattle, they lock it down. I mean, what? There was like a good 8 or 9 seconds that we saw really the hill be somewhat vacant. Regardless of that, though, Huntsman, they've got a nice breaking opportunity because they spawned there.
Yeah, Envoy was the only player back there, was able to win 1 gunfight, and 2 of his teammates spawned directly on him. And that's something that you don't really expect to happen when 3 kills go in favor of the Surge. Envoy just wins 1, forces 2 of his teammates to spawn on him. They were able to break in, and now, but the Seattle Surge are currently do have the lead, but rotating towards that cafe area. It looks like the Huntsmen are going to be fully set up. They need to get a great hold here, because as I said it, the Seattle Surge are just breaking in, and they're making it look easy.
They are indeed. Seattle definitely showing some wonderful signs early on. As Octane, unfortunately, not going to be let into the restaurant. Pander decides to go ahead and go through the kitchen. He gets shut down as well, as the Huntsmen are currently serving up a very nice sequence already. And even in this hill as well, I mean, it can be very chaotic from time to time. And I feel like a lot of teams have actually started to kind of figure out how to hold restaurant well, kind of getting that mid-map positioning. But at the same time, it can come with a cost, as Seattle do kind of hold future spawns, if you want to kind of label it that. But nonetheless, if you're Huntsman, you'll walk away with the time that you just managed to hold in the first place. The Scump, that's going to be 3 in a row for him. But as the hills begin to cycle back and reset, Huntsman, good position, but hey, you're still happy with that if you're Surge given the circumstances.
No, yeah, for sure. The Chicago Huntsmen were fully set up. They were trying, but player by player on the Surge, they're going individually towards that Water Street. Arcitys and Form were just able to pick them apart. I'm pretty sure they just got a full 60 on that, but you can't really worry about that if you're the Seattle Surge. You also have this, as I say that, the spawns flip, but they need to be able to get all this time from P1, and hopefully they'll be able to bounce back and try to get another tremendous break going into that P2 hardpoint again.
Huntsman thanking the COD gods for that one, as now they've got a good setup for next, as Octane, again, having to win some crucial fights from long range. Arcitys, of course, not wanting to give him any line sight. Making their way up through tracks, the stuns, the nades, everything in the bag being tossed out as the Pool Shark himself, Octane, decides to run through the door. He gets cut down. Envoy getting the scrap time, it looks as if. In the meantime, Surge, they actually do spawn on the hill, so they've got squad spawns in their favor. We'll see if this actually can be somewhat influential for this hill. Is up close and personal, the Huntsmen, they want to try to put on some early pressure. They realize how close they are to 200, and what a possible situation this could be for Surge if they could start to bring it back. Cutting them down at the door. Octane, unfortunately, does shut down Proto, but the sacrifice was a worthy one, As Seattle continued to pick up players in the feed, Chicago's starting to realize the rotation may have to be inbound. It's about time for maybe one last push. Can they be successful? We're about to find out as Pander's picking up kills. That's going to be 4 in a row for him, as last man alive is going to be Formal. He drops Seattle a successful hold as they're now back in this game.
And you're not worried if you're Seattle. The same way on that first rotation for that P3 hill, they were able to just break through that front side. You know, OpTic pushing up that train area, getting off those cutoff kills. But they were able also to chain it towards that P4. You see Seattle, they're only going to be down about 15 points here. Let's see if they're able to do that again. But you see players from the Huntsmen are farther pushed up middle map to try to not let that happen.
It's good map positioning for Hazmat. Octane kind of toward that track side, does get dropped. Instantly for the challenge is Apathy, and Scump's going to say goodnight to both of them. A huge situations early for the Huntsmen, as this is a massive hill for them, given the current position, given the current situation right now for the Surge. As the smoke is out, we talk about it constantly. That can be the key to success for Seattle. Octane manages to make it into Hazmat, but he quickly falls. Formal able to shut him down, and it's pretty much the refresh button for the Surge as they cannot break in. Chicago, a wonderful hold here at Hazmat.
Yeah, they've just had way better positioning around the second time around. Just playing aggressive towards that mid-map. You saw RCD sitting at that top left yellow window, just holding down Water Street, picking them off apart. And now they're only going to be about 15 points away. And this is exactly what we saw them do last time. You see that number 2 player in RCD staying alive on that Water Street, hoping to get a forced spawn flip. Now, if they're able to chain a couple kills here together, they will get the spawns. Pander's able to take down one. Now they only need 13 points left. Do Chicago Huntsmen close it out here?
That's the question. It's looking good for them, but the break is going to have to be necessary here in the pool. Envoy waits for the call. He jumps on in, checks the wrong area, does get cut down. Nonetheless, though, Prestini and the rest of the Huntsmen still on the outside. Octane, they know he's serving. They know he's prepared. They know he's over at the bar, and Scump decides to jump on in. A wonderful map for the King, 21 and 14 on a 4 spree, as he will help lead the fray into this hill. 10 seconds left. Can Seattle break? Can they force it on to next? The smoke is out. Can they contest for just enough time? They can still win it here, but Seattle, they're doing just enough, and based on the tick, they might have it. Seattle contest, and they are going to have to rotate for next, and Envoy is here, and Envoy wins the early fight. He's going to have to walk away with the second. He gets cut down, but Arcides, he'll find the double. Unfortunately, his own twin takes him down, but nonetheless, Formal being the dominant force at the door, as the Huntsmen will walk away with this map and will walk away with this series.
That was beautiful on the Huntsmen. Their rotations were a lot more tight. Arcides was making big plays all over the map. When it came to that Water Street, it was basically his street at that point. He was able to flip the spawns consistently, especially going towards that P4. Just a great adjustment out of the Huntsmen going into this going into this map, able to close out the series in a 3-1.
Yeah, solid
exactly what I predicted.
Yeah, it was, man. It was. We both predicted a 3-1. I'm kind of happy with that, I'll be honest. Didn't expect it to be the game 1 hard point, but you know, we just won't mention that. We just, you know, we didn't give specifics. I may or may have not said it's going to be the domination, and it definitely wasn't. But hey, nonetheless, prediction was accurate. But I'll be honest, I was kind of predicting this one to be a 3-1 for Chicago, but I didn't think it was going to be, I guess you could say, as competitive as it was. I feel like Seattle at different moments had some really good stretches, and especially in the hard point, we saw Route 11 search and destroy. Granted, the domination at times was fluky, but nonetheless, I feel like if you are Seattle, you lose to Chicago, which is kind of what a lot of people were expecting, but I think they put up a good fight here, Stud. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely think they put up a great fight. I was expecting Chicago to come in and just outslay them completely. But when they were able to open up with that map 1, that was so huge for the Surge. Then going into that map 2, if they would have went up 2-0 in this series, we'd be going to a game 5, or probably wouldn't be, because the momentum on the side of the Surge would have been totally different. Now, for the Surge, I know you guys are basically dropped down to the losers bracket now, and you basically have to win every single match if you want to improve your seeding. And for me, I felt like they had drastic changes. The domination on Hackney, they just weren't able to flip that spawn as fast as the Huntsmen were able to do. And then even on that last hard point right there, Arcides was just playing for the spawns correctly, making sure the teammates were spawning on him. They were able to just hold it perfectly. Even though they only lost by basically 50 points, it was a great showing from the Surge.
It definitely was. As we kind of see it, the scuff play of the game coming through from Formal. Like I said, I think that you can kind of hold your head high if you're the Surge. Again, right, we talk about champs. It's not going to be easy, right? We talk about seeding the way that they kind of are right now in the standings. It's never going to be a simple task for them by any stretch of the imagination. But like I said, I feel like they had some good moments. It just kind of came down to some key situations for Chicago, right? I mean, a little bit of mistakes from time to time. As you referenced it, it was kind of the Hackney play that we saw over on Domination. A few good holds from players like Formal here kind of at the stretch. I think, like I said, it's still... There's still work to be done from the Surge, as obviously they're not going to be in the losers bracket. We'll see who they face off between Ultra and OpTic, but nonetheless, again, I think this is still a Surge team that has the case to be shown, and that could still have a possible another victory here to move on.
Yeah, for sure. I expect the Seattle Surge, to be able to bounce back in their next series. They put up a great fight versus the Huntsmen. It all came down to that P4 hill and that second rotation. Huntsmen just held a full 60. Were able to open the game wide open.
They were indeed, as like we said, Surge unfortunately do fall here. The Huntsmen kind of win what was, somewhat of an expected series, but nonetheless, it's going to be the Huntsmen who do manage to win this series 3-1, as we are going to have Lottie with an interview from the Huntsmen's own Envoy, and to see kind of what his perspective is as they talked about Search and Destroy coming into this, but we'll be right back after this quick break.